Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Uh, Let me welcome you to Medzone African Motives. The channel that you know is there for you, is there to attend to your needs. So we are going to talk about Business Studies Grade 10, Term 3, under the topic under the topic says problem solving cycle. So like it says, outline, mention, discuss, explain, or discuss the problem solving. So now we are to define the problem solving. A problem solving is a step-by-step approach used in business to try to identify problems and come up with solutions and make what improvements. That's what it means. So the first step that you're going to talk about is identify the problem. We are going to identify the problem. Identify the exact problem. So this one, we can make an example of saying whereby a clothing store realized that its monthly sales have dropped significantly. Its monthly sales have dropped significantly. So we are talking about the dropping of the sales. So that's how the problem that we have identified. So acknowledge that there is a problem. So this is where the manager is going to acknowledge that there is a problem with sales performance. It's going to acknowledge that there is a problem with sales performance. That is the first step. Now we go to the second step, define the problem. The nature of the problem must be precise. The nature of problem must be precise, meaning be precise about the nature of the problem. Also, find possible causes of the problem. Gather as much as possible to establish the cause of the problem, where you are going to gather what? Data. So, we can make an example of whereby now the manager checks the reports and finds that customers are not returning. Customers are not returning. Maybe it is due to prices that are high, or there are new competitors that have opened nearby. So this is going to help clearly define why sales are low, the dropping of sales. Maybe it's due to competitors that have opened their business nearby, maybe because of what? The prices that are too high, that makes the customers not to return. Hope we are together on that one. Now we are moving on to the third step, identify alternative solutions. Now you are to come up with alternative solutions. Now you are to brainstorm the possible solutions, where again, decide on the cause, the main cause of the problems. So when you are coming up with alternative solutions, let's now take, for example, whereby now we're going to say, what will solve our problems will be trying by all means to give what? To offer the discounts, maybe to launch a loyalty program, or maybe to run what? Social media ads, or improving customer service. These are going to be what our possible solutions that we are going to try to come up with. So now we are moving on to the fourth step. We are moving on to fourth step, where now we are told that evaluate alternative solutions. Evaluate alternative solutions. Use critical evaluation and analytical skills to evaluate each solution. Meaning we have to analyze the pros and cons of each solution. So what are we going to analyze? We are going to analyze those solutions that we identified in step 3. And then we have to consider the advantages and disadvantages of each solutions. That is that. We're going to consider the advantages and disadvantages of each solution. that we have identified in step 3. So we can make this clear with practical examples. This is where the manager is going to compare each idea. We have the idea of offering what? Discounts. So we're going to try to analyze the discounts and then say, okay, discounts, they may bring quick sales, but they are going to reduce what? Our profit. The advantage is they may bring what? Quick sales. But the disadvantage of it is that they are going to reduce our profit, because we are now going to be forced to part ways with a certain part of our profit that we are going to give it to our customers. Now maybe we can go for loyalty programs. Okay, loyalty programs takes time to implement. That's the disadvantage. But they can help long-term relationship with our customers. That's the advantage of it. Or we can go to social media ads. The ads, the problem with it is that it's going to cost us money, but the advantage of it is that it's going to bring new customers. See, we are trying to consider the advantages and disadvantages of our alternative solution. That is that. So, now we are to move to the step 5 so that this will be more clear. So let's make sure that we are still paying more attention to the presentation. So the step 5 says choose best solution. The step 5 says choose best solution, where it says set criteria for the best solution in terms of the aspects such as time, cost, risk involved. So we are going to set the best criteria in terms of cost, time, as well as the risk. So, and then it said identify which solution will be used. Here, this is where by now you're going to choose what? Best solution. Here we are going to choose what? Best solution. You're going to choose best solution. That is very important. Now let's say the best solution that you're going to come up with is a loyalty program. So that is the solution that we are going for. So now again it says the best solution should measure what? The size. The loyalty program that we choose should measure the size, the resources of the business. That is very important. If the solution is not appropriate, the business should go back to defining the problem. So if it's not appropriate, now we are to go back and try to find out what the exact problem, which is the dropping of the sales. Try to go in detail about it. Now we are moving on to the 6th step, where it says formulate or develop an action plan or strategy. So here we are told that arrange the necessary resources and delegate tasks. We allocate what? The resources. Establish timeline for implementation and set deadlines. Where now we are trying to set timelines and deadlines. So with this, we can make an example whereby now we are going to design loyalty card. Remember, that is the solution that we go for when we are saying we go for loyalty program. So now we are trying to design loyalty card, train staff to promote it, launch the program within 2 weeks. So that is that. Now we implement the action plan. We carry out planned actions or solution. So this is where when we are carrying out chosen solution. We carry out the chosen solution. Communicate delegated tasks or deadlines to employees. So you communicate tasks to staff. So the example can be the loyalty program goes live now, because we chose what? Loyalty program. The loyalty program goes live. Staff explain the benefits to customers at the checkout. So that is that. Now we move on to the last step. Now we move on to the last step, which is evaluate the solution or action plan. Evaluate the solution or action plan. So this one, you check the result and monitor what? Progress. You check the results and monitor what? Progress. Check the results and monitor progress with this step, where it says assess whether the problem has been solved partially or entirely. The problem of making of the sales that we're dropping. Now we are checking whether it has been solved partial or entirely. Monitor or test the solution or action plan and strategy continuously. If problems emerge, they must recognize and reformulate the problem for improved solution in the future. That is where you adjust if needed. So the example that you can come up with this, the 8th step, that is, let's say after 1 month, the store sees a 20% increase in returning customers. So if this continues, the strategy is working. If not, then they may revise the program or try the advertisement. Maybe they can go to another solution. Now we are moving on. We are moving on to the problem solving techniques. We are moving on to problem solving techniques. So we are going to talk about Delphi technique as the first technique for solving our problem. So now, what is a Delphi technique? A Delphi technique is a structured communication technique that gathers expert, that gathers expert opinions through questionnaires. Through questionnaires, to reach best solution. To reach best solution. So that is that. The structured communication technique that gathers expert opinions through questionnaires to reach best solution, especially when we are dealing with complex problems. Especially when we are dealing with complex problems. So now we can try by all means to go through the points that I mentioned. Business must invite a panel of experts to research complaints from customers. To research complaints from customers. So you are going to invite the panel of experts. You are going to invite the panel of experts. Let's say the company selects 5 logistic experts from different cities. The company is going to select 5 logistic experts from different cities. Maybe, let's say our problem here is that a company is receiving many customer complaints about their delivery times. Let's say the problem is what? The delivering times. So management is not sure of the real cause of this, of the problem of delivering their products to customers on time. So this is whereby now the management is going to invite what? The panel of experts, so that they can research the complaints from customers. So they will invite a panel of experts. That's why I'm saying the company will select 5 logistic experts from different cities to come and help into that problem. So we are told that experts do not have to be in one place and will be conducted individually. They are not going to be in one place. They are going to be conducted individually, because we are trying to avoid whereby other experts are going to try to dominate other experts to buy their opinions. So because you are looking for a quality solution, so we are going to make sure that they are going to do that in their respective places. They are not going to see each one another. So that is what this point says. Now we are to design a questionnaire. You design a questionnaire which include what are the common causes of delivery delays? What are the common causes of delivery delays? How can we improve delivery time within a budget? So that is the questionnaire that is going to be designed by the manager of the organization. So now we move on to another point. Summarize the response from the expert, or request the panel to individually respond to the questionnaire and return it to the business. That is that. Experts respond individually. Experts must respond what? Individually. They must respond individually. They must respond individually. Each expert fills their answers and send them back to the business. Each expert fills in their answers and send them back to the business. That is that. Now we are told that summarize the response from the experts in the feedback report. So with this point, where now we are summarizing the responses of the experts, this is whereby now the company compiles the common suggestions and issues raised. The company compiles the common suggestions and issues raised. And they are doing that in the form of report. So that is that. Now we are told again, send the report and a second set of questions based on the feedback report to the panel members. So you send a second round of questions. Here you send what? Second round. Send second round of questions. Second round of questions based on the feedback or new questions. Ask, expect to rate the best solutions. That is how you're going to do it. Where you send second round of questions based on a feedback, new questions, ask, expect to rate the best solutions. So that is that. That is when you send feedback report, second of questions based on the feedback report to the panel members. You send it to the panel members. Again, request panel members to promote further input after they have studied the results. After they have studied the result. So this is where you get second responses and prepare final report. You request, with this one, you request panel members to provide further input after they have studied their results. So you enable them to give further input after they have studied their results. Then after that, then you go to prepare a final summary report. Final summary report. So this is whereby now we can say the experts now agree that using GPS tracking and optimizing delivery routes is the best solution. That is a final summary report. So the last one, the business should choose the best solution after reaching consensus. So we make what? Decision. This is whereby now we're going to make what? Decision. We make decision. Now make decision. And the decision that we are going to make is that the company is going to implement the GPS solution. It's going to implement GPS solution, trying to track and optimizing delivery routes. They're going to see it as the best solution. So now we are going to move on to another technique, which is force field analysis technique. So moving on to force field analysis technique. Force field analysis technique. So we want to hear about the force field analysis technique. So now we are to try to know what is this technique all about. Force field analysis. That is a decision-making tool. It's a decision-making tool to analyze the forces against a change. It is a decision. It is a decision-making tool. This is a decision-making tool to analyze the forces, for and against the change, and against a change. That is what this technique is all about. That is what this technique is all about. So, moving on to the points that I mentioned under force field analysis, it says, so we can make an example about this whereby we're saying, let's say a factory is considering switching from manual labor to automation. That is our example. Now let's come to the points mentioned. Describe the current situation and desired situation. We describe what? The current situation as well as the desired situation. So the current situation is that manual labor is slow and error-prone. Remember, our example is that the company or the factory is considering switching from manual labor to automation. So the current situation is that manual labor is slow. But the desired situation is that using of machine is going to be faster and more accurate production. That is that. So the second point, it says, list all driving or bronze and restraining or cons forces that will support and resist change. So with this one, we are told to list all the driving, bronze, or restraining, which is cons. The driving are the bronze, are the advantages, but restraining are the disadvantages of the change, of what change will come up with. But the bronze are the advantages of what change will come up. So the driving forces, which are the advantages, the bronze, we can say, with this change that we are going to come up with, it is going to increase production speed. It is going to increase what? Production speed. It is going to lower term cost. It is going to improve what? Quality. Those will be what? The pros of the driving, which is the positive. But coming to restraining, wherever we are going to talk about the cons now, we can talk about of this change. We can talk about high initial investment costs. That coming to the automation, whereby now we're going to make use of machines other than manual labor, is going to come up with high costs. That is a negative side of it. Also, the restraining is going to be what? The staff resistance to change. The staff members are now going to resist that change. Or need for training now. Those are what? The negative side of the change. Now we move on to another point. Allocate the score to each force using numerical scale, where 1 is weak and 5 is strong. Now we are going to allocate what? Score to each force that we have talked about in a numerical scale, where 1 is weak and 5 is strong. So now let's come back to the driving force, to our problems. We have talked about increasing production speed. Maybe the increasing production speed is going to score 5. Lower term cost is going to score 4. Improve productive quality is going to score what? 4 as well. But moving to restraining, which are the cons, negatives, we can say high initial investment cost. High initial investment cost is going to score 5. Staff resistance to change is going to score, let's say, 3. And need for training score 2. So that is how we are going to put it with the scores. So now we are told that where are the positives and negatives? Then decide if the project is viable. Decide if the project is viable. So we can see that driving forces score more, as it scores what? 13. Because if we can add 5 plus 4 plus 4, now it's going to give us 13. But restraining forces score what? 10. So it means now this project is going to be viable, whereby now we are going to make use of the automation instead of manual labor. So it means that it is viable. Now we are to take a decision. Since positives outweigh negatives, the project is what? Is viable. So that is why we are saying choose the force with the highest score as the solution. So the force that has a highest score is what? Is a driving force, because it scores more than restraining. So meaning we are going to go to driving force. Now, so if the project is viable, find ways to increase what? The forces or change. So as you can see, the project is viable. Now identify priorities and develop an action plan. This is whereby now we can maybe say, let's apply for loan, provide staff training, and then as well as to install the machinery in phase. So that is force field analysis all about. That is force field analysis all about. Now we are moving on to another technique. We are moving on to another technique, which is brainstorming. Moving on to another technique, which is brainstorming. Oh, what is this brainstorming all about? That is very important. What is this brainstorming all about? It is a creative, it's a creative, it's a creative, it's a creative problem solving, a creative problem solving technique, creative problem solving technique used to generate used to generate a large number of ideas. Large number of ideas in a short amount of time. In a short amount of time. Amount of time. That's what it means when you're talking about brainstorming. So, when are we going to use a brainstorming? It's very important. When are we going to use brainstorming? We are going to use brainstorming when we are doing what? When we are doing a problem solving. We are going for that technique when we are trying to solve what? When we are trying to solve problem. We are going to use this when we are doing what? Problem solving. Problem solving. Where we are brainstorming. So brainstorming is useful for generating solutions to complex problems. So that is that. Also, we are going to use it when we are trying to generate ideas. Idea generation. Idea generation. So it is an effective technique for generating new ideas, products, or service. Also, we can go for it when we are doing what we call a team building. Team building. So brainstorming helps build teamwork and collaboration skills. So that's when you can make use of brainstorming. So now we go to the points that I mentioned under brainstorming. You define the business problem clearly so that all participants understand the problem. Let's say the problem again is still the dropping of the sales of the business. Business is facing the challenge whereby now their sales are declining. So moving on to so now the members, they know that we are talking about what? The declining of the sales of the business. Now members state possible causes of the business problem. So the members are going to now state the possible causes of the business problem. Maybe it's because it's due to intensive competition. There is more competitors. There are competitors who are offering the same products and services. Maybe it can be because of the maybe high prices that the business is charging. So maybe those will be the problems of why it is facing that challenge of the declining of sales. So when we are brainstorming, set a time limit for each brainstorming session. Set a time limit for each brainstorming session to say at this particular time we have to make sure that will be the members will be submitting their ideas. So there should be a time limit. Record or write ideas down where all participants can see it. So when you are recording or writing the ideas, make sure that all participants are going to see all those ideas clearly. of all each members in the brainstorming session. Ideas may also be shared online during an e-brainstorming session. So, because you know the technology, now it is also possible to do what? E-brainstorming session where it is going to be done online. It is possible to also do it online. Use each suggestions to inspire new ideas. Each suggestion to inspire new ideas so that there will be a fresh inputs. And by so doing, you allow a participation. So make sure that you are using that to inspire new ideas. Do not criticize ideas. Meaning there should be no criticism. No criticism. No criticism. So that many ideas could be generated as quickly as possible. So it simply says ideas are not judged or criticized during brainstorming session. They are not judged. Take note of that. All members of the group randomly make suggestion. So all the members of the group, that is whereby they randomly make what? Suggestion without judging what? Their ideas. That is why they are saying they make them randomly without ideas being judged. So that is that. The group rates ideas according to its usefulness and cost to implement. So they are going to raise ideas according to the usefulness of the ideas and how much it's going to cost them to implement what? The ideas. So that is how they rate what? Their ideas. Very important. So the group evaluates all ideas. They evaluate all ideas, combine similar ones to draw up a revised list. So they're going to combine them and try to see the ones that are similar. They're going to as well be grouped together. Discuss a plan of action. Discuss a plan of action on how to implement the best ideas, the ones that will be considered best. So we have to discuss the plan action. Now we are moving on to another technique, which is nominal group technique. Nominal group technique. So this is another technique that we are going to talk about. So nominal group technique, what is it all about, nominal group technique? So nominal technique group is facilitated group process. It's a facilitated group process. It's a facilitated group, the facilitated group process that encourages contributions. That encourages contribution from all members. From all members to generate ideas. From all members to generate ideas. That is what it means when you're talking about nominal group technique. So this is where now it is all about participation. It makes sure that all members are going to participate. They are going to bring out their ideas. So now let's go to the points. Encourage group to clearly define what? The problem. So the problem should be clearly defined so that the members in the group, they will know the solutions that are going to come are going to be related to the problem, so that all the small groups can work on the same problem, so that they can work on the same problem. The business must divide the employees into smaller groups. So they are to be divided into smaller groups so that all the members are going to participate, to make it easy for participation of all the members, to make it easy for participation. So request each employee silently to brainstorm what ideas on his or her own and write it down. So that is when we are talking about a silent idea generation. Silent idea generation. Silent idea generation. So participants, this is where the participants write down their ideas individually. That's what it means. Each employee in the small group can share one of his or her ideas with a short explanation. So they can share their ideas with a short of explanation. To just try to tell how his or her idea is going to solve the problem. That is very important. Appoint one employee to write ideas on a large sheet of paper or captures ideas electronically on the computer for all to see, so that everyone is going to be, that is why it's supposed to be on a large sheet of paper, so that everyone is going to see the ideas that were raised during the meeting. Now allow each employee to give second idea until all possible ideas have been recorded. So employees are to be given what? The chances until all the ideas have been recorded. That is very important. Encourage employees to ask clarity-seeking questions where they seem to not understand certain points that were raised. So they are allowed to ask the clarity-seeking questions. Discourage criticism. Discourage criticism of ideas, as this may prevent others from giving their solutions. So for you to get fresh inputs, for you to allow participation of the members, don't ever discourage the ideas, because that can prevent others to give their solutions. The business must eliminate ideas that are duplicated. So the ideas that are duplicated, make sure that they are eliminated because they are the same. Each employee must read through all suggestions and anonymously rate them and giving the highest points for the best solution. Now collect ratings and calculate the total points. So because we'll be rating them, so we are going to collect the ratings and calculate the total points so that we can see which best solutions that we are going to go for. That is very important, to calculate the total points so that you are going to see the solutions that score more points than the others. Small groups must present one idea to a large group that was deemed best according to the scores in their small groups. Now we are to move on. Now we are to move on. Now we are to move on to a scamper. We are to move on to a scamper as one of the techniques that we are going to use to solve a problem. So with Scamper as one of the techniques that you're going to use, trying to solve a problem as well. Here, we are going to try to know a Scamper in full. S means substitute, C means combine, A is adapt, M is modify, P put to another use, E eliminate, and R reverse. So we are going to make an example so that we are going to understand it more clearly. So our example that we're going to use, we are going to make use of coffee cup. Coffee cup is going to be the example to make this clear. So now let's go to substitute and try to find the explanation of it. With substitute, that's when we are replacing parts of the product or problem with something else. With something else. Like it says, substitute some parts of a product with something else. Replace part of the problem with something else. That's a substitute. Like I said, you're going to make our example with a coffee cup. This is where we can say, instead of using a ceramic cup, let's say we were using what? A ceramic cup. We are using a ceramic cup, ceramic cup. Instead of using some ceramic cup, try by all means to substitute with the biodegradable cup. Biodegradable cup. Degradable cup. To make it eco-friendly. We were using this ceramic cup. So now we are going to replace it with biodegradable cup so that we make it what? Eco-friendly. You see, now we have substitute our product with something else. We replace part of the problem with something new. So we want this cup to be eco-friendly. So we replace it with what? With a biodegradable cup to make it what? Eco-friendly. Now we come to combine. Combine, this is where we are going to arrange or merge parts of problem in a creative way. You arrange or merge parts of a problem in a creative way. Like it says, arrange parts of a problem in a creative way to cancel out the problem. So we are combining. So as our example is a coffee cup. We are going to combine a coffee cup with a biscuit holder. So here, let's say, we are going to combine our coffee cup with what? Biscuit holder on the lid. Biscuit holder on the lid. You see? So we are combining here. We are not replacing like when we are substituting. We are combining. So we combine this coffee cup of us with a biscuit holder on the lid so that the user can have a snack with their drink. You see? So that they can have a snack with their drink. We just combine that with a biscuit holder on the lid to make it easy for them for the user to snack with their drink. Now we are moving on to adapt. With adapt, you are saying you are using existing ideas and trends to improve your product. You look at the existing solutions and adapt them to solve the current situation. You look for a new trend for products and adapt the old product to attract more customers. That's when we are saying you are adapting. So still going back to our example, you adapt the cup by adding temperature sensitive color. You adapt the cup by adding temperature sensitive. By adding temperature sensitive. Temperature sensitive. So here you're going to adapt this coffee cup of us with temperature sensitive color design. Temperature color design. Color design. That changes when the drink is hot or cold based on the current trends. So you just do it by adding temperature sensitive color design. That changes when the drink is hot or cold based on the current trends. So that's how you can adapt. So now we are moving on to modify. Modify. This is where we know for sure that you adjust or exaggerate a feature or improve attraction or function. You exaggerate the problem and see if it is a part of it that can be adjusted to solve the problem, or put some new parts into product to attract more customers. So still under the example of the coffee cup, we can say you modify cup's handle to make it easier. You modify cup's handle. You see the cup handle. So you're going to modify a cup handle to make it easier to grip for even for elder people or children, so that it can grip, so that they can be able to hold it. Even the elder people can hold it, or even children. That is when you are making it easier to grip. So you have modified the cup's handle. So now we are moving on to put to another use. Make alteration to use it for other purpose. Make alteration to use for other purpose. So that's when you use the item for different purposes. You use item for different purposes. Example, turn the coffee cup into a desk organizer. By using it to store pens and small stationery. So you see now is a different purpose. This is whereby now you turn the coffee cup into a desk organizer, whereby you're using it to store pens and small stationery items. So now a coffee cup now is now going to be used to store pens and stationaries. So that is when we are saying put it to another purpose. Eliminate. That is when we are saying get rid of some parts of the problem or reduce them. That's when you are saying you eliminate. So you are going to remove unnecessary parts to simplify or improve. So with an example, you can say eliminate the handle to make the cup stackable and save the space in the kitchen cabinets. So now you can eliminate the handle. You can eliminate the handle. You can remove the handle, so that you are trying to make sure that there will be a space in the kitchen cabinets. You see. Rearrange or reverse. This is where you change the order or direction of elements. You put the idea around and rearrange in order to think of it differently. So if this one, you reverse the couplet so that it opens like a flower petal rather than a twist top, making it easier to drink from and clean. So that is when we rearrange or reverse. Now we are moving on to another point, which is mind maps, which is a mind map. So we want to know about the mind map now. As it is. So mind maps. The mind maps are visual thinking. This is it's all about visual thinking. When you're talking about visual thinking, as we are going to talk about a dramatic approach, a diagrammatic approach to brainstorming. To brainstorming and organizing ideas. And organizing ideas. So here we are to decide on the central problem. That is when we are talking about the central idea or topic. We are talking about central idea. Central idea. And find a word or picture that captures it. So the central problem topic, let's say the delay in delivering is our problem, that should be in the center. That should be in the center, should be bold, and as well as we were told that find a word or picture that captures it, that will make it to be able to be seen clearly, and so that it can even capture the interest of the group. Break down the central theme. Break down the central theme into main ideas or points. This is now when we are saying you are trying to branching of ideas. Now you branch it, branching ideas. Now you are branching ideas. Now you're branching ideas. When you break down central theme into main ideas, you are creating branches or connection to related idea, concepts or solutions. Like we're saying delay in delivery. So we want to know what causes the delivery. Those will be the branches that are going to connect to the main idea. Maybe it's because of the speed of the transport, stuff like that. So that is that. Break ideas down further into sub-points. So you're going to break down the ideas into sub-points. So also we are told to use color and shapes to help sort ideas logically. So we can make use of colors or the shapes so that it will make it easy to sort ideas logically. Now we move on to force field combinations. Force field combinations, which is used. That is a combining of unrelated concepts. Combining of unrelated concepts. This is where I know trying to combine unrelated concepts, where you are trying to force feed two or more unrelated ideas or concepts to generate new solutions. So this technique stimulates creativity. This technique encourages innovative thinking by challenging conventional relationships between ideas. You give employees a list of random words, pictures, or objects. So they are going to try to combine those unrelated concepts. That is trying to be creative. Employees should then create connections between the problem at hand and their item. So they are going to create what? Connections between the problem at hand and the item. Employees should answer questions like, how could this item solve problems? So that is force-filled combinations. Now we are moving to empty chair technique. Empty chair technique. So this technique can help stimulate creative thinking, generate new ideas, approach problems from unique angles. Creative chair technique. You speak to an empty chair and imagine another person is sitting. So you are presenting to your chair, and then you act as if there is someone who is listening. So that is going to improve your confidence. It prepares you to be very confident, and it helps you to solve the problems alone. So perspective thinking is that you imagine a key stakeholder or customer expert sitting in an empty chair. You imagine that they are sitting in an empty chair. And then the empathy and understanding, you ask questions and respond as if the person were actually present. So you're going to ask questions and also respond as if there is someone who is present there, whereas there is no one. Insight generation, you gain new insights and perspective by considering the thoughts and needs and concerns of others. So that is also going to help you to make decision on your own. Limited creativity, since only one person's view is really applied. So because of being one person, it limits what? Creativity. So this is the end of the presentation. Thank you very much for your time. Ensure that you are going to hit the subscription button and ensure that you're going to share with those who are concerned. Thank you.